Here are the rules. When I say the word scriptural, I mean a full idea, thought, or concept that is given by inspiration of God and is profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, for instruction in righteousness. When I say the word biblical, I mean the idea, thought, or concept that appears in the Bible but may or may not be consistent with Scripture. The use of anything biblical must have witness with the Scripture to be Scripture. Okay, when I say the Word, I mean Jesus the Christ and sentences directly attributed to Jesus the Christ, having literally spoken them. Now that you know the rules, let's go.
Guys, just look at this.
Christian nationalists walk around with a mouthful of scripture and a heart full of hate. Don't tell me what you believe. Show me how you treat other people, and I'll tell you what you believe. Jesus didn't tell us to love our churches. He didn't tell us to love our doctrines and our creeds. He didn't even tell us to love our scriptures. He told us to love our neighbors. And there was no exception to that commandment. Love thy neighbor, regardless of race, class, gender, sexual orientation, or immigration status. One of my favorite theologians, Barbara Brown Taylor, once wrote, "The only clear line I draw these days is this. When my religion tries to come between me and my neighbor, I will choose my neighbor." Jesus never commanded me to love my religion. You know what's interesting? Not once in the entire Bible does Jesus ask us to worship him. All he asks is that we follow him. Love like he loved. Love the outcast. Welcome the stranger. Feed the hungry. Heal the sick. Free the oppressed. As the hymn says, they will know we are Christians by our love. We have to get back to that.
Hello, me hearties, or privateers. Welcome to the Privateers Volley channel. We got another volley today. Interesting one this time, folks. I tell you what, the hits just don't stop playing. You know, the hits just don't stop playing. This time we're talking about Christian nationalist. Not even sure what that means, to be honest. I know what a Christian is. A Christian is someone who is like Christ, Christian. I know what a national is, somebody who loves their country, someone who supports their country. So someone who is like Christ and supports their country would be a Christian nationalist. I don't know that that's a terrible thing by definition, but I know he means it to be terrible because it's been being used in the media in a terrible way. So they pick up on these political terms and they use them extensively. So I understand what's going on here. But let's get into some of the chaos of this. He says that their mouths are full of scripture and their heart full of hate. Well, that's interesting. Mouths full of scripture and mouths full of hate would be a reprehensible thing. Absolutely. I just don't know if in this case it really means what he thinks it means, because I think what we're conflating here is the term love. So we're going to get into that in a minute. He says, don't tell me what you believe, but show me how you treat others, and I'll tell you what you believe. Well, first of all, that's a narcissistic, way of viewing things. You truly are a narcissist. So that's kind of crazy, but he goes on to say that Jesus didn't tell us to love our churches, to love doctrines or creeds, or to even love our scripture. He told us to love our neighbors. Well, there's some objectionable things here. First of all, this was a court, and I got to be on one side of the court and object to things. As soon as he said Jesus didn't tell us to love our churches. Oof, wait, hold on, time out. Objection in the court, objection. He told us to love our wives as Christ loved the church. So if he didn't love the church, then that would be him telling us to love our wives in a way that we didn't love our wives. We don't love our wives. We can mistreat them. We can do whatever we feel like doing to them because we don't love the church, or he didn't tell us to love the church. So that's a problem. That's one objection, massive objection. He did actually tell us to love our church, to love the church, because he loved the church. The church being the men and women that belong to his family. That's the church. Not the building, but, the people, right? He told us to love the church, love our neighbors. Those are our primary neighbors. So, kind of crazy. Number 2, he did not tell us to love doctrines or creeds. Timeout. Objection in the court. Number 2, doctrines are those things by which we live by. He told us to be obedient to. We are commanded throughout the scripture, and the word, Jesus himself, tells us to be obedient to those things, those pesky little doctrines and creeds. So, little problem there as well. He actually did tell us to obey doctrine. He actually did tell us that he did not come to abolish the law. So it's kind of important there to love doctrine and creeds. So Jesus, he says also, thirdly, Jesus did not tell us to love the scriptures. He did not tell us. He didn't even tell us to love the scriptures. What a political statement that is, right? Being that the scripture is specifically for instruction. Specifically. If we don't love instruction, what kind of people are we? So he told us to love instruction. He told us to take instruction. He told us to obey the commandments. He told us to be that. So, objection in the court, number 3, right? Objection. What are you talking about? But he goes on to say, and everyone's going to agree with him, right? You're going to agree with him? He told us to love our neighbors. He forgot a part. Love your neighbors as yourself. So, here's the thing. If my neighbors were their house caught on fire, and I wanted to love my neighbors as myself, I have to put myself in that situation and say, what would I want my neighbors to do? If my house caught on fire, would I not want them to warn me, hey guy, hey, neighbor, your house is on fire. Your house is on fire. Yeah. I think he did tell us to love our neighbors, but to love our neighbors as ourselves. And even that thing that the world calls the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. That's a little bit of an issue with his conceptualization of this, because to truly love our neighbors is to do it in a way that we would want them to do it unto us. So if our neighbors knew that we were in danger of being separated from God eternally, what would we do? What would our neighbors do? Would we not want our neighbors to come to us and say, hey, according to the scripture, this lifestyle that you're living, you're going to be cast out. You're going to be outside of the kingdom. You're going to be in utter darkness where there's gnashing of teeth. Do you really want to live in a world where your neighbor is just going to constantly coddle you and say, "Oh, I love you, I love you, I love you," and love meaning like tomorrow night I might come over and be drunk and I might do something to you because I love you. Is that the kind of world we want to live in, where we just coddle our neighbors until one day they don't coddle anymore and they act upon some repression or sin, or transgression that's in their hearts? I don't think so. That's not what love means. Love doesn't mean that. So it is a little bit of a problem to me that he literally denies loving your church, because Christ loved the church. He literally denies loving doctrine, because doctrine is what we're supposed to be obeying. Love the scriptures, because scripture is instruction, and hello, we all need instruction. We're lost without him and his instructions. And then lastly, he tells us a kind of an incomplete statement. He told us to love our neighbors as ourselves. That's the part you forgot. So it seems like you don't really understand what love is. But then he goes on and makes a political statement, so everything's good and perfect, right? It's good now. He says, regardless of race, class, gender, sexual orientation, immigration status, regardless of all those things, we are to love our neighbors. Political statement. Totally political statement. Not scriptural. Not biblical. Nothing in that makes any sense whatsoever. Okay? Because it's never been about race. It's never been about class. It's never been about gender. But to throw sexual orientation and immigration status in there, those are political things. Those have nothing to do with reality. So he got political here. He did. He got political. But let me tell you something. If I have a neighbor that I know, and when we're talking about neighbors, by the way, folks, we're not talking about the person next door. We're talking about everyone else, okay? If I know of a neighbor that's in a situation where their sexual orientation is in fluctuation, you think I want my children, or you think myself, I want me to hang around those people? No, because I understand what's fueling their desires. And I understand that what's fueling their desires is going to one day come and punch me in the face. So no, I'm not going to have anything to do with them other than to love them as I would want to be loved. If I was that, and someone came to me and said, "Hey, you can be thrown into outer darkness where there's weeping and gnashing of teeth," I might then question what I'm doing, right? Well, I'd do the same thing with them. So that is what qualifies the beginning of this whole little sermonette that we got from this guy, where he said their mouth is full of scripture and their heart is full of hate. If that's what qualifies as hate, is me telling somebody, "Hey, stop it. Your sexual orientation is an abomination to the Lord." If that's what's fueling this whole conversation, then even from the beginning, the guy is off. Just being completely political. No scriptural application to this whatsoever. Then he says, when my religion, he quotes his favorite pastor in the world, which happens to be a woman. You take that. When my religion tries to come between me and my neighbor, I choose my neighbor. So your religion, your system of practicing the obedience to the Lord, whatever Lord that happens to be, because religion is not just Christianity, it's lots of different lords out there. There's capital L's and there's lowercase l's and everything in between. But so when your religion gets in the way, literally your system by which you live by and obey, when that gets in the way, you choose your neighbor. You choose your neighbor. That's just an incredible lie. It's an incredible lie. You're never going to choose your neighbor. You know why you're not going to choose your neighbor? Because it's the system by which you live by. Nobody forsakes that for their neighbor. They actually intimate it because of their neighbor. Okay? So, stupid comment. Then he says, not once, I mean, so far he's been so accurate, he's going to throw one more super accurate thing out there. Not once in the entire Bible, this entire book, which I have like 10,000 copies of around here. Not once in this entire Bible does Jesus ask us to worship him. You have no idea who Jesus is, do you? You really don't. You literally think, you're probably one of those that don't even believe in virgin birth. You're probably one of those that say, well, Jesus was just a good man who went around talking about moral stuff and, healing the sick and, feeding the poor and that kind of thing. And, just a good dude, just a good dude. Not God incarnate. Not God in the flesh. Coming down to experience this among us, Emmanuel, right? Not that. Just some good guy who's going around teaching great stuff. Happens to be maybe affiliated in some way with God, and it's possible that they have a relation somewhere. No. How about he is God in flesh, right? So, hello. You don't know who Jesus is. You really don't. To say that he never once in Scripture told us to worship him, you missed something somewhere. There are hundreds of Scriptures that talk about worshiping God. Hundreds. Hundreds of Scriptures. If not more. I haven't counted them. Nor am I going to, because that'd be a real waste of time to count how many times, something happened. It's like, how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll pop? Right? What a waste of time. Everybody knows it's 3. That's it, right? Everybody knows. So, anyway, this has been another Privateer's Volley. This one just really got to me. I had to come and talk about it a little bit. Thank you for spending a little bit of time with me and understanding that this guy is just so saturated in Babylonian juice that he doesn't make any sense at all. Everything we do here at Patriot, wow, I did it again. Everything we do here at Privateer's Volley, it's all about the blood.